Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about sins of the father, and I'm going to be going over how to clear this in door kickers from a top-down view. This is where the spawn is for the first option. I am only clearing the second floor, which is this door. So after you come down these stairs and you open it, this is the area that we will be clearing. I made it in door kickers, took a while, but with that said, let's get right into it. So here we are with Door Kickers 2, map of Sins of the Father. Now with this, there's a couple things to note. There is a situation here where I didn't want to bother with the elevation element. So I just made a room, which I'm theoretically not really going to go into. Generally speaking, just wedge this door. And the same thing with over here. This would lead downstairs to the third floor, technically speaking, where that room has the pillar and the outside, and there's the alternative spawn point over here where you'd open a door. But we're just going to go over this floor, and we are going to pretend that this is still a threat, as it is, of course. Generally, this is more of a threat than this, but generally speaking, what we're going to be doing is pretending everything like this is a threat. This is also an issue where there's elevation here, and generally speaking, if you entered anywhere around this area, you could get shot from outside. So I'm going to pretend that that's the case. I did make it even. So technically speaking, everything is, as you can kind of see, flat, but this element here and in here is going to be technically the outside, and then there is like a door here, technically speaking, on the lower level. But anyway, this is the section is the lower part of the first floor, or whatever floor. I think it's the first floor, technically speaking, of the spawn point. Anyway, let's get right into it. So first, generally speaking, this part isn't really an issue. Anybody that's going to see you right away is going to be dealt with because they see you and then they react, but you have more than enough time to take them out. Now, a lot of people die here. Actually, just in this whole general area, actually, very commonly. As well as, where's another common dying point? There's actually a lot of points where people die, but anyway, let's keep moving. So, open door. Obviously, we have 3 stack here to deal with any threat, and we have cross coverage. So these guys are very protected. We are going to clear with these 2 into this room, get a little bit of a foothold. It's not a perfect one because our team is going to be very split up. We're going to be pushing these guys upward. So double bang into the room, double bang close, just because when you're clearing with 2, throwing flashbangs a bit closer can be a bit more advantageous, simply because they're less likely to die really quick to a target in close range. So they are going to get up here and to set up a little foothold here. This person's going to be basically focusing on this door if it opens, or if there's an enemy that runs out or whatever. And this target is just going to be just chilling here until these people secure this area. So I can actually back it up a little bit if I can do that. 1 second. So as those 2 enter the room, they do the flashbangs, as I said. Now this is still covering here. We still have cross coverage and this extra coverage. As this guy covers here, we see this guy can technically still be shot, and this guy can't be covering him. So he's still going to be looking this way. This is a little bit tricky of an angle, but once we have this, then we're good. Then he can cover him. This door is opening, so we can take that out. Same thing, these guys are just covering this door and this door to make this section of clearing for a foothold a little bit easier. There's going to be 1 person covering this guy's back. Whenever you're moving up into an element, as I've always discussed and always said, always have a little battle buddy make sure you're connected to the back. And when you move up somewhere, you're totally going to be covered. Ignore this area. I try to close both these doors, and that's what you should do. Leaving one guy behind, and that's perfectly fine. He can handle this threat. And if a threat does come through, he can also handle that threat. This is actually creating a visible blockage of vision in the game. I didn't realize that that was going to be the case, but it is. Technically, you would be able to see all throughout the room. With this guy here, you can use these. You can usually see over the piano. This is supposed to be a slightly elevated area, so maybe you can't see over it, but generally speaking, you're just in this section trying to hold this door and that door, just because it also coincides with seeing through this door as well, depending on if the doors are open. But anyway, let's keep moving. As I said, I'm trying to close these doors to protect from this threat. If the door opens, this is a threat. So here we get our engagement. The door, somebody runs out. This actually happens in Ready or Not very commonly. Weirdly, out of these rooms, like this room as well, they love to sprint out of these rooms and attack you. Give them a little shoot, full auto. Same thing. Now this is becoming a threat, so I'm backing off. I wasted a lot of ammo. I'm running out of ammo in my gun, so I'm going to start backing up, having somebody else take over the position. As I reload, now we're holding this position here with Overwatch, whatever you want to call it. And we have someone covering this side here. This threat this threat area can be covered by one person. I've done it. You have to be very diligent and very patient. Whenever you see a target, and I've done it before, just focus on those locations. A target comes out here. They're less likely to come out here once you've cleared this area. Once you've cleared this, you don't really have to worry about it. But coming out here, and coming out here, very big threats. You really need to sit here, be patiently waiting, and just camping that corner, because if you stop for 1 second and you look away, it really has been the death of a lot of people and the death of me even. And especially when I'm super diligent about it. But until this point, you do want two people covering this because people are moving around. But this person is going to be the rock of this foothold. You don't have this guy, you don't have this foothold. This can be a really big problem. So cross coverage. This person's looking into that room. That person's looking into this room. Now we can pie this door. We're going to do it a little bit, but we're going to wait. We're going to throw a flash to get in the room. So we're getting in the room to get right here. Still covering this area. And still covering this area. We're going to move in. This guy's going to take the place of covering this location. And we are stacked here, ready to go into this room. There could be hostages. Usually there's a hostage here. Usually there can be a civilian in here, civilian over here. Usually there's a civilian almost always in this room. And we are just going to tighten up the stack a little bit. And this guy is going to fall in since we don't want him to be alone for forever. Ignore this part. I try to like close this door, but it won't close. And I'm like, this is annoying. So I try to close the door again, but I'll probably end up cutting this out. But anyway, you get the idea. Wish the closing of doors was a little bit easier in door kickers. But anyway. So someone's coming in to take his spot as he throws a flashbang. This guy's being covered from here. So no one who goes into this room is in danger. We're going to be protected from the rear. Same with here. Any guy coming from this angle or this angle. This should be shut. Obviously, I tried to close it, but I can't. Flashbang. Somewhat into the room. Can be right here is also acceptable. Anywhere encompassing this general area is absolutely fine. Generally speaking, there can also be here, but we're going to be engaging that directly as well, so it's totally fine. We're going to be peeking out, trying to take out the threats. This guy pies this location, and threats come out. So when this is happening, this can be dangerous. In Door Kickers 2, it's slightly easier, but you can back this up a little bit to right here, so you have a little bit better of coverage. Just stay close to each other, kind of covering each section. The reason why he is not here is because if there is a threat that comes out, we don't want him getting shot in the back. That is why he is clear of the door. But generally speaking, you can have this be done over here and be covering relatively fine. You don't have to overcommit. Just as long as no one's trying to get into this angle of the room, usually it's fine. Usually you don't have this issue. Usually people aren't hanging out in this vision cone. So anybody here in this door isn't really in threat, but I'm just doing a little bit extra to illustrate this kind of principle. So now that we are taking this room, it's totally fine to get in here and get a foothold here. There is a thing to be said about losing a foothold. Now, technically speaking, this is my foothold. I can have one right here. And it's pretty good. I just have to clear this section and whatever might be over here. But whenever you take a new foothold, you lose the other one. So you do have to technically retake it. Because an enemy could come in here, come out here, whatever, right? An enemy can come out here. A lot of threats, a lot of potential threats to reoccur where you've already cleared. Especially on hard mode and ready or not. They tend to ambush you a lot. They love running around the map like crazy people. So try to be diligent. Even if you think you've cleared it, clear it again, especially if there's unknown elements connected to your previous foothold. So still holding this door. Technically speaking, this guy should be over here doing cross coverage, but this is fine. Generally speaking, you're not going to get a threat from this side anyway, generally speaking. And we're going to clear the place in here. I have had occasional hostage situations in here. If you see it, just throw a flashbang once you've cleared this main room. And as you can see, I do eventually go cross coverage. And we're going to stack. We are going to flow into the hallway. Pretty standard stuff. Nothing too crazy. Flow inside. Now we are going to deal with this room because we want to focus on this half as the threat, as there is more elements over here. So we're just going to quickly tidy up this area. So same thing. Talked about this before in other videos. This is the defender of everyone here and here. He's going to be the first one to see a threat. This guy is covering here just in case someone comes out here, but he's pieing this door and going around. This person will be the one throwing a flashbang. This guy can't have something in his hand because he's going to be the first one to be threatened by anyone in this room. They love to run around in this map, as I said, this level. They will run out and gun all of you down. It's crazy how often they do it. Flashbang, pie the door. Now, even though this guy is momentarily unprotected to some degree, can't draw a straight line, he's going to risk a little bit of exposure. And when you're in ready or not, there's not a lot of room to work two people here. This is an acceptable fault to some degree. Usually you're not going to be getting a threat out of here. If it is, it's only going to be one. But this guy is still covering a lot of the area. Anyway, so I do eventually get him behind him to protect him. I change it up. But anyway, this guy is going to be behind to protect him. And we are just going to tighten the stack a little bit. Here we go. And now we're going to flow into the room. The reason why he doesn't go right first is because if there is a threat here and he decides to run out, it is a very quick encounter. Here, going wide gives you a little bit more time to react to the target. And you're going wide until you can clear this unknown. And once this guy is positioned properly and pies, then he can, and sees into a good amount of the room, he can come into the room, get his foothold, and we are moving up. We know we're clear. He can go wide just in case there is a threat. A lot of the time there's like a tripwire. There's usually tripwires on this map. Just peek the door, crack the door open a little bit, see the wire, snip it, basic stuff. Everything else is the same in terms of clearing by the door. I don't think I've ever had an enemy in here, ever, but you know, things can change. So just still clear like you. There's an enemy here. Usually there's a civilian on occasion here. I know this room is clear, but this is supposed to represent the there's like a balcony here, and then there's a staircase leading down like this. Oops. Right. To lead to the lower floor. As I said, you're not going to be entering this area. It's either going to be wedged. If it does open, close it and you wedge it. If you don't have a wedge, close it. There's an enemy. You can like pie the door, see what's in there. Can't see anything, close the door. Not really something you really engage with. There's maybe one guy in here, tops. There's a guy in here. You'll usually run out. But this is still a threat. Small threat, but still a threat. I know there's nothing in here, but I'm just clearing. Obviously I kind of clear kind of poorly too, as you can see. But we're moving in to clear the rest of the map. We are going to retake our foothold. We are going to try to get vision here and the same hallway. Now from here, we are just pushing up. Now, a lot of the time you can see into this room from this room. Obviously, this is still a potential threat. So we are going to focus that as the main priority. If there is a threat here and they're going to run out, they're not a threat to these people just simply because they are out of line of sight. If they do get here to a point where they can shoot these targets, there's 3 people ready to secure that target or neutralize that target. So now we have a person covering here. The reason why he's not covering further up is because of potential fire from here. This person will be covering the long. Generally speaking, you can do it far or close. Either is fine. Generally speaking, it's kind of nicer to be closer so you can minimize certain things. But there's something to be said about sitting further back. You're out of the way. Sometimes you don't get a clear shot. Just make sure your team is staying on this side of the hallway. But everything should be fine, generally speaking. If you want to move up, move up. Want to stay back, stay back. So, why is this guy throwing the flashbang? I don't even know where he throws it. I'm not sure if it's here or here. This guy has coverage of this area. And there's really no threat that's going to immediately come here. It's a little bit of an issue. This guy probably should have thrown it, actually, now that I think about it. Because there is the potential of still a threat being here and taking out this target, and he can't get a line of sight to defend him. This is a mistake. We all make it, but it's okay. Things happen, and a lot of the time it's not going to always kill you. It does. There is a chance that it will, but go in, push the room. Now, unknown threat, and unknown threat. As we can see, how do we do this? So this is not a threat yet. This is not a threat yet. This will be an active threat. There's a lot more threat potential here than here and here, even if there are people in these rooms. So let's try to get a foothold. We're going to try to get a position where we can hold the potential threats and be relatively safe. So we're going to push in this room. We flashbang this, so that's why this guy is not aiming in this direction. He is aiming in this direction for potential threat. There is somebody watching the door, and he's going to follow him as he moves forward. So threat comes out here. I did forget to move this guy. Just a minor thing, but he should be aiming this way. Here, we still have coverage of here. Here, we have coverage of the hallway. And this is all good. Now I move him in position. This guy is defending this area, so there's no one to be shot from the back, from behind. Now, this guy can be a little bit further back, just in case this door opens and he gets shot. This is well enough positioning, generally speaking, and this guy can return fire. It's not that big of a deal. But he can be back like just a little bit. Or this guy can be up a little bit, and that would be fine. Kind of weird angles. Like this is kind of very nitpicky stuff, but anyway. double stack, cross coverage, flashbang if you feel like it. If you saw somebody come in here, do it definitely. This threat opens up. As you can see, we're secured. Still good. We clear that room. That room's clear. We can start taking the hallway. The hallway is a bigger threat because this leads to the downstairs area, and this can be, this threat isn't too bad. This is usually pretty tame, honestly. The only issue is the lower elevation floor. That's usually where you'll get a lot of deaths from. Try not to go into this area because you will get shot. You can still get shot in areas like here if you walk into this area just simply from outside. Try to stay on the edges. You are going to come out here. Make sure you do it quick. Generally speaking, as long as you're in this area here, whenever you are trying to clear into these rooms, usually you're fine. There's not really much of a sight line from the downstairs area into here, but back to where we were. So this is a T-junction, as I call them. Cross coverage is usually the best way to approach it. You can double flashbang. If you feel like you only want to use one flashbang, throw it into the area of more potential threat. In that circumstance, it's likely to be up here. There is more doors and more elements. If you throw it here, it's only going to be flashing a little bit into the downstairs. Obviously, I also know that this does not represent as big of a threat. I did still put guys here to represent enemies coming from this direction, just so you know. But we are going to clear that. Usually once you see into the room once, there's usually not any guys here. Pretty rare, but check anyway. So we are ready to start moving. We're going to flash. This guy's covering this angle. This guy's trying to cover this angle the best he can. You're not always going to have perfect angles whenever you're covering someone like this. Just remember, like, this guy can cover him a little bit, but obviously if the guy's like right here and he can see him, that can still happen. A lot of the time, whenever you're further back on the stack, always just be ready to back up so that your team can take cover. This will be the one who opens up to back up to go around. This person backs up, and then you take their place as covering. Cross-covering coverage. Cross coverage is still really important. Okay, so we flow into the room, well, the area. So we're pretending this is a very serious threat. We are pretending this is a very serious threat. This person is still covering the door. Honestly, this is usually a role I usually happen to take whenever I'm playing Ready or Not. Very often. We are going to check only down a little bit. See if there's anybody on the staircase. If there's not, we don't want to see past much more of the staircase. We don't want to engage this room. This is the room with the rug and the campfire, right? Campfire. Weird campfire. Anyway, we are going to have one person always protecting this angle. This is still a threat. It's not a huge threat, but when it is a threat, it's a big one. This is usually where people get compromised and die. A lot of people die in here. A lot of the time. Very often, people will die here. Now we are going to start pushing up in here. We're going to tighten up the stack. This person is still here. This person is defending this guy, so he's still good. Once we take this room, then I can push up and kind of tighten the stack, tighten the regroup. Cross coverage, same thing. Once this guy gets in position to clear this, we're going to see to the door, and they're going to take this together as this one tries to cover the back. You can see. So no threat that wasn't protected. This guy should be up a little bit. This is just a very nitpick. He should be over more and further up. But we have good coverage. These two are going to take this door. And this one's just replacing swapping so you can reload the weapon. So this guy's aiming this way. This guy is covering here. This guy doesn't need to be covering here. He should actually be here. Because this is a threat issue in terms of like if a guy opens and he's right here, he can't return fire. But this is like very temporary, so it's not too big of a deal. Once we pie that, we know that this area, this section is pretty clear. A lot of the time when you pie from here, you will be able to see into elements further into the room. The only unknown area of potential threat is going to be here and maybe some specific areas like just right here. Usually where guys can be. Now, there's a little small thing that I'd like to address. I put a wall charge here, which can be put on a door or a wall to blow through the wall. I put a wall charge on here, and it does blow up the wall pieces around it. Obviously, there's nothing like that in Ready or Not. C2 just blows up doors. But when I do that, I open up a sight line to out here. Now, one of my guys gets shot, and this would happen in Ready or Not, obviously. So one obviously flags this guy in terms of being able to see him. And then as this guy moves up, he takes a few shots. And I'm like, uh-oh. And also, obviously, this should be the downstairs area, so they wouldn't get shot from here, just because of how the sight lines are. Obviously, this is the only way into the room. This shouldn't be visible. But anyway, this is usually pretty straightforward. Once you clear around this corner, and this is getting positioned here, I'm just making sure that we're clearing. Usually, I'll be honest, don't expect to kill anybody down here. Just don't engage it. I'm telling you now, even though I'm like killing these guys, I just left them there to illustrate kind of where you should be walking and moving and how to move. But if you're here and there's a target out here, you're getting shot, and it's going to be really hard to see them just because apparently they're just robots and they can see through the darkness and everything else and poor lighting. You can't. But we're moving in, clearing this area. Once you've cleared this area, you know you're good to go. You can ignore moving into this area and clearing the downstairs. You can get some angles from here to look down into the room safely, generally speaking. Just really carefully peek when you're down here, or when you're up here, I mean, looking down. It's pretty good. You can kill sometimes a guy in the lower floor, so that's something to note. But anyway, that is the end of this floor. I'm not sure if you guys want me to do the other floor. It does take quite a while to create these maps and make sure the angles are all right, because sometimes, like, I had an issue making this angle. It doesn't look difficult, but when everything is supposed to be aligned and proper, it can be quite the task. It's quite annoying, honestly. But anyway, if you guys want to see more stuff like this, if you have suggestions of your own of what map you want to see, or you're having a specific problem on a specific area, say like this, so like, oh, I keep dying here and I don't know what to do. Which threat should I be focusing on first? Do I bother bringing wedges? Should I wedge doors? Should I wedge this door? Should I wedge that door? Do this? How should I do these things? You guys have any questions like that? If you're curious of how you're supposed to stack at a door, or how to move through a room, or where to throw the flashbangs of potential threat, really like securing those potential threats, let me know. If you guys, as I said, have a map suggestion, just say it. Try to specify specifically what you're referring to, what map, which section. Say a couple enemies that are there. Say like, oh, the guy that runs out of the bathroom, he always shoots me when I'm in the hallway between those two doors in the first area with the piano, and usually there's a lady in there that I have to secure. When I go into the hallway, the first hallway to the left, entering the room, entering from the entryway, I always have an issue down this hallway, right? Try to be as specific as possible. Sometimes it's a little confusing to understand what you guys are referring to. So just try to be as clear as possible. If you're curious, just, you know, try your best. You don't have to describe it perfectly, but the map, the location, what the issues are, who you're engaging, what you're bringing, shotgun, whatever. All these little details will be helpful. Anyway, that's it for the video. Hopefully you guys like these types of videos. I'm going to be doing a few more. If there is a want for even more of these, I will be going into the DLC maps, addressing things. Anything I can't address in this bird's eye view perspective, I will be going in Ready or Not to address it. It's not going to be the best visually, but if you are having an issue with specific areas, like at the start of Rust Belt, for example, I did a video on that. Check those out. Like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.